Today, I'm going to show you two thumb positions while playing the guitar. First is to wrap your thumb around the neck. Your fingers will be at a 45-degree angle relative to the neck and the frets, and your thumb will be wrapped or poking out from behind the neck. Second is to place your thumb behind the neck. Your index finger will be perpendicular to the neck and the frets, and your fingers will be slightly curved or straight. Here's the pros for wrapping the thumb around the neck. And here's the pros for having your thumb behind the neck. I'm not saying you can't bend with your thumb behind the neck, nor am I saying that you can't play chords with your thumb wrapped around the neck. What I am saying is that one position may be more conducive to a specific technique, and an advanced guitarist should be able to do both. So now that we've kind of gone through the cliff notes and the summary, what I want to do is just talk through all of this stuff in more detail, give you some visual examples, and stick around. First things first is we've already learned that wrapping the thumb around is going to be one of our positions, and we have this nice angle here. We have the nice angle here on the fingers. You can really see it, how they're coming off at that 45-degree angles and stuff. Now the thumb's really, I say wrapped around, but you can actually see some stuff that looks like that. I think on some of the more open chords, you can really tell that you probably don't want to actually touch some of these lower strings, but your thumb's just going to poke out from behind it. And might as well show you the behind view as well. You'll notice something very interesting about this kind of hand position. When my thumb is over the top of the neck like this or poking out from behind, this part of my palm is actually making contact with the neck of the guitar. It doesn't always do that. Maybe on some of this there's a little bit more of a gap, but other times it's lying completely flat. And that's not really the case when we get to the other hand position. If I'm going down the kind of the list that I had wrote for the pros with the wrapping the thumb around, first thing you can really see is that open chords require less stretching. And open chords, I'm talking about C, A, G, E, D and their minor counterparts. If I quickly play C, A, G, E, and D, all of those, my thumb really doesn't need to change positions a whole lot. I'm really just kind of twisting my wrist in order to get the positions that I need. We already have a kind of natural curl to the fingers. So I remember a big thing for me when I was first starting out was making sure that when I was holding down some sort of note that I needed the open strings to ring out. I found that I have a way better time curling this index finger so that the first and the third string actually will ring out and my finger is less likely to hit those. And so if I just quickly try to move my thumb behind the middle of the neck, you'll notice that these fingers kind of flatten out and you're more likely to ring out, hit those sort of strings. Another pro to having the thumb over is that bends are easier. If I decide I want to bend without that, you'll notice that the guitar naturally will push up in the direction that you're trying to bend. So if I pull, it pulls down. If I push up, it pushes up. And we just want to resist that motion so it's not wasted. So right now I'm using my pec to stop it, which is fine. It works. But if I instead press really hard on my thumb on the back, I would squeeze it. I can kind of do that. But the thumb and actually this finger right here, this part of your hand, can resist that motion really easily. So I think some people have called it kind of like a counter torque, and it makes sense to me. Or another way to just say all of this is just, it's physics. Resist the normal force or something like that. So I had this other one on here, another pro of your thumb can be used to actually fret notes, and that's really useful, you know. Excuse me. I don't think, is a thumb a finger? I'm going to do that. Is the thumb a finger? Can anyone confirm or deny? Thumb is a digit, but not technically a finger. Okay, so the thumb is not actually a finger. Today I confirmed. It's a digit. I don't know. And the cool thing about using your thumb is like you kind of have another digit then that can fret notes. So you already have 4, and then you can add a 5th to do something else that's more interesting. So a classic shape is like a major 7. So that's like an A flat major 7 sound. something like that. But if we want to make sure, get that index finger, it's kind of like doing a F and then you raise up the index, so you get, I think, a very Stairway to Heaven, very 10 Years Gone, yeah. So that thumb can actually fret notes, and even stuff like you've heard variants where you play a D chord and then instead kind of Freebird, where you go G and then those kind of things. Sort of an added bonus once we start to get an F chord under control. If I just add in the pinky and then put the thumb over, that sounds exactly like the bar chord version of the same amount. So if you don't ever want to learn bar chords, you can just do that instead. Yes, so another one is using your thumb to mute the strings. So I have this wrapped over. I can realistically get the 5th and the 6th string in this context. It's really why you see when you're strumming open chords. Here, I am strumming all 6 strings, but that's what the 5th and the 6th string sound like, and then 4 through 1 actually makes the sound you're looking for. So as we kind of go through, we can see that our thumb's here in the middle position, and actually my index finger is again perpendicular for the rest of the string. So I don't really have a nice full hand fold and in here in the neck. So my thumb, usually this is anywhere from like the top middle to the bottom middle to actually all the way to the bottom, and just literally holding to support up the neck for some of these more crazy stuff. Maybe I could show it on both. So the thumb can really be anywhere, and it moves around quite a bit. So the first one is that stretching is a bit easier, and I don't think it's really that difficult to prove. If you just try to make sure that bottom half of your palm is here and you're fretting the first fret, try to see how far you can stretch while keeping that thumb still poking out over the top. I could probably do 1 to 5 pretty with some stress, but as soon as I put my thumb in the middle, I can get all the way to 1 to 7. Yeah, this one in particular, bar chords are a thing that I think most guitarists eventually end up learning, no matter what style of music you really play, or at least you attempt to learn it. And in order to play some of the bar chords, you actually need to have the thumb in the middle, because the index finger is here and perpendicular. That's the only way it can act as the capo. If I have it like this, I can't actually easily reach all of the strings that way. So I mean, this is kind of the bar chords I'm talking about. If we use the ones on the root on the 5th fret, I need to have my index finger acting as the capo there. I can't really get there and fret the notes that I want. In contrast, where I have this sort of bar chord where I only need to bar strings 1 through 3, it's okay to have my thumb up here. And, I can just do it that way as well. And it's the same thing. Okay, so the next one is a little bit more esoteric, and this it leads to a lot of implications. And what I mean by this is that finger movements are a little bit consistent across the strings. And this leads to things like when we're practicing scales, if I'm over here, I'm going to just do kind of like a D minor run with my index finger in the middle. And then I'm going to move it up a whole step and start on the 3rd string. Those kind of runs are very similar across any of the strings. And then it becomes you sliding your hand up and across the neck, but at least your muscle memory is kind of the same. So this is kind of what people mean when they're saying that, oh, when it comes to scales and runs that are pretty quick, a lot of people prefer to have it kind of in the middle of the neck. I would just say that the muscle memory is a little bit stronger because you're repeating the same action, just needing to slide your index finger across the frets. The last one here is getting access to the lower strings requires less effort. We can just move the fingers and get access to that. So if I make the fist instead, my index, if I try to keep that and move it, I can kind of move it forward. And I think that's where like these kind of jazzy type, these type chords will work for it. But as soon as I need to do a bow stretch where I need these kind of fingers to be on around strings 5 and 6, it falls apart. I can do it, I can fake it, but it really requires some sort of extra dexterity that doesn't make it easier with that hand position. You know, it just makes you ask, why aren't you putting your thumb behind the neck instead? One other common response to all this is that it doesn't matter. And I actually do agree with that in a lot of cases. If I instead am doing like, I don't know, the minor pentatonic scale and doing runs, you know, they're both kind of the same, functionally speaking. You can learn both ways just fine, but they're not playing into the strengths of either of the positions. Many guitarists over many generations have proven you don't need to use any specific one in order to get those kind of results and those kind of sounds. So you might be wondering how we got to this point. Why is this even a discussion of why one might be better than the other, or only one should be used? Yeah, I don't really have a good answer for that. I will just acknowledge that in classical guitar training, that this method falls into the philosophy where you're supposed to have one finger assigned to one fret and one finger assigned to each string as well. Those kind of philosophies are better for having the thumb back in the middle, back and behind the neck. You know, but I'm here to get that we should was. Is at the end of the day, we will need to look at either a run or hear something, and we need to say, what thumb position would that work with? It really becomes second nature once you spend enough time with it, but if it's your first time or you're a beginner, you might not know. So this is why we need to learn the pros of each of these positions, and then you see something that fits that criteria, you might want to try that first. I've also heard this kind of like a new versus an old, where an old style rock people will do the thumb wrapped over, and then the newer stuff requires kind of the thumb behind. I don't really buy this either. I think these are kind of either the style of music plays into those pros, or some other actual external factors might have helped contribute to that style. If you've never heard of it before, actually the neck will have a different shape. You see, you kind of have stuff either from like a C or a D. If we could just take it and imagine, we got BB for like the baseball bat style, which is just really big kind of circle, right? It would fit perfectly in my hand like this, making a fist. Whereas something like a D would have a flatter, so when I'm doing more of a thumb style, it will be able to more comfortably sit on the back, and when you slide the thumb up and down, you're not really adding any more extra movement that would change the curve of your fingers. And I would say some of the older style guitars are a little bit rounder in the hands, and it feels really good when you hold a guitar like that. One other thing I want to talk about is extended range guitars. So this is actually a 8-string neck. And if I look to making a D chord, the space between this is so much wider. It feels a lot more comfortable in your hand to actually put your thumb behind the neck in order to reach all of the strings. Actually, one of the fun things I had brewing around in my mind was guitarists and what hand placement they're more likely to use. So let's do, I don't know, Jimmy Page, why not? You can definitely see some thumb over here. Yeah, thumb over the neck. Let's see Jimmy, good old Jimmy. Oh, yep, who could have seen this coming? Thumb, wow, is this for ants? Yeah, I mean, thumb over the neck. Let's try B.B. King. We've got one right there. He's got the thumb behind. Even some of his other stuff. Can't really tell if he's playing. Yeah, there's the classic one. Django Reinhardt. Yeah, we definitely got thumb here back in the middle, back behind it. Pat Metheny. So there's something live. Thumb behind. Yep, thumb behind. Any other fun ones? You got thumb wrapped? Yeah, there's a thumb wrap right here. Eddie Van Halen. He definitely did both. Yep, there's one. There's thumb behind. Tapping stuff. Big open chords. Speaking of open chords, let's try Willie Nelson. Yep, thumb wrapped around. You can barely see it. He actually has his thumb wrapped over there too. What does Snoop Dogg say? Snoop Dogg recalls getting super high with Willie Nelson and while playing dominoes in Amsterdam, 420. Nice. Yep. We've got thumb very much behind on that one. But we'd also have thumb wrapped. Yeah, he switches thumb positions a lot. How about Tosin? Here's thumb behind. Still thumb behind. Even though it's got a little bit of an angle on some of them. Yeah, here's one where he's wrapped it. You see, he's got some. He can do both. He also has massive hands. Yep, Steve does both for sure. He also does the fabled no thumb. Maybe kind of like a. I don't know. I have no idea where I'm going with that one. Please send help. Mr. John. Yeah, we got thumb wrapped over. Yeah, we got a lot of thumb wrapped over with him. Let's look at the edge. But we kind of get a bit of both. Oh yeah, and also again with the no thumb, when like people are playing slide. Yeah, when you do stuff with slide and you come up here and you just want to move freely, I think that's another thing. But yeah, the edges got thumb over here too. Santana. Thumb over. Guthrie Govan. Thumb this one is an interesting picture because it's very clearly, it's like should be thumb wrapped over, but you can't see it, but the fingers are very much angled that way. Thumb wrapped over there. Thumb wrapped over. Here's some kind of more chordy stuff. He's doing it thumb behind. Two main ways to, of course, put your thumb with a little wrap over and putting it behind. Lots of benefits to both. And I would say putting it wrapped around is sort of at odds with having your thumb behind the neck. There's pluses and minuses. When you look at pro and cons, they kind of oppose each other. And again, knowing when to use that thumb wrapped around as opposed to putting it behind is going to make your playing a little bit easier too. Happy playing, and feel free to hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.